Way back in the day, we performed at the Playboy Club at the top of one of your famous hotels. I can't remember the name, Chase Hotel. And we played the auditorium back in the day with Jackie Wilson. We also played one of the Kiel Auditorium, I think it is. So we've had many, many trips in St. Louis, and it goes all the way back to one of our beginnings back in the 50s. So I have a fond memory of St. Louis. All good things have always happened for us in St. Louis. First of all, there's a bill in front of the House of Congress called H.R. 848. This bill would pay performers of all genres, all performers in America, of all American music, a royalty when it's played on the air. Now, the law that exists goes all the way back to 1909. I call it the horse and buggy law. 1909, they put across the law that they would pay writers and publishers for their song, and they had a hard time getting that done. Well, at that time, there was only a piano player who worked for the publisher and the songwriter, and they would just play the song, and that would be paid on the air. Now, that's the same law that exists. Only the songwriter and the publisher is getting paid. Now, as the years went by, there was performance on recordings, voices, musicians, background people. When that first came into effect, we had the artists or some kind of coalition tried to get a law passed so artists and the performers could get paid. Well, the NAB, being so strong in Washington and always have, just fought it, and they keep fighting it, and they fought it all through the years. I remember in the 50s, Frank Sinatra tried to get it done. I've been an advocate of this particular, trying to get performance rights ever since our first hit, 1964, with Baby I Need Your Lovin'. Being very close to the songwriters, Holland, Dozier, and Holland, and all the many songwriters at Motown, we were all very close, the artists, songwriters, the engineers. Everybody was on the same level, more or less, because it was just a family. And Holland, Dozier, and Holland, who wrote most of our songs and produced them, would always, they were getting these checks every maybe 3 months from BMI, some from ASCAP. And I always wondered, so I asked them one day, I said, look, why do you all get these checks, man? I said, it's great. I mean, you're always smiling and happy about these checks coming in. I said, what are they for? So he said, they're for us writing the songs that's being played on the radio. So I said, well, aren't the artists supposed to get something from that? He said, no, it's just, it doesn't go like that. It's just for the writers and publishers, which at that time was Joe Bett and the writers. So I went to Barry Gordy, who was president of the company, and I asked him about that. And I asked him, well, isn't there something that could be done about this? He says, no, that's just the way it is. I said, well, it just doesn't seem right. I said, because just take, for instance, the song Bernadette. I mean, if you just played it on the piano, it's a song. But when we sing it or Levi sing it, Bernadette is alive. I mean, it becomes a piece of property. It becomes like a copyright or an intellectual piece of property. I mean, it becomes something special that people want to hear. And in saying that, throughout the years, all the music that's being played draws people to radio. I mean, of course, talk draws people too, but most people listen to radio for music. And everything on radio gets paid by the advertiser. And the advertiser pays for everything. And the advertiser is paying attention to people that listen to music, and that's how they sell their product. And so they're selling product, they're spending money on us, I'll say us, I mean all artists of all genres, singing those songs. And they're drawing people to radio, which is good for the advertisers. And the advertisers are spending, say like last year, $16 billion a year on advertising. And the artist that draws people to the radio, that helps them pay the money, gets not a dime. And I've always thought that this just is not fair. And to me, it's a labor issue. There's one radio company that keeps trying to make it a black issue, like we're trying to kill black radio or small radio or ethnic radio or religious radio, and that's truly not so. It's set up so that the small companies would pay a very small fee. Some companies would pay nothing a year, period. There's some smaller companies that would pay a maximum of $500 a year. Then there's another tier of smaller companies that would pay $100,000. I mean, I'm not $100,000, $1,000 a year. And then the next tier, $2,500, and the next tier, $5,000 a year. Now, 75% of radio would pay in between these two, this nothing figure up to $5,000, which is really a small fee. They're going to pass it on to advertisers, as always. And for some smaller radios, there's a 3-year moratorium if the bill gets passed. Take, for instance, there's a lot of friends I know in the business who can't go out and do concerts like we still can. They're too old. The records did not, they can't draw people like we can. Thank God we can. And I still hear their records being played almost everywhere, on all radio across the world. And there's 4 formats of radio. There's terrestrial radio, which is AM, FM. There's cable radio, internet, and satellite. Now, the last 3, they are paying performance rights, and they have been for the last maybe 3 or 4 years. And they're not squawking. It's not really hurting anybody. Plus, what really gets me another way is radio and artists have always been friendly. We've always scratched each other's back. I mean, if there was something they needed done, artists would always be more than willing to help out. When we needed things done, they were always willing to help out. Our companies always bought advertisements, always did all the things on the table and under the table that they needed to do to get records played. So now when this bill come out, and it really makes me really mad that these people in radio are going to these Congress people's office and having people that work for them protest against, which is horrible. I mean, these Congress people have fought hard for their regions and did all the wonderful things. Now that they're supporting this bill, radio people are telling their people and on the radio, which they won't let us advertise or let us tell our side of the story. So people are only hearing one side of the story, and they're going to these Congress people and protesting, and it might cost some Congress people their votes. So it's a horrible, negative thing that's going on. And I think now it's time, even though the economy is bad, but the window is open because the other formats are paying. It's something that should happen. And I'm not doing this because I'm looking for any more money. They'll still play our records, but I'm thinking about all the old artists that have come to us, for help with the hospitals. That's my opinion, and I'm out there fighting for all the artists for that and for the future artists that's coming up.